Hey everyone, welcome to The Playground, a show focused on all things fun. We're your hosts. I'm Sierra, and as always, Andy. We're so glad that you guys could join us today, and we have a very special topic to talk about. Well, first off, as you can probably see, we're in a very new location. We're going to be talking about our move to Florida, and which we're really excited to talk about. And with all these new changes since being here, with Disney opening up, Universal CityWalk, and just all these new announcements. So we're really excited to share these exciting events with you.
And of course, I mean, there's been a lot of new things that we've been up to a lot lately. And so I'm going to just try my best to kind of summarize in a little bit. First off, with regards to this live stream / podcast, this show is now officially a podcast, and it can be found on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and several other places where you might enjoy listening to podcasts. If you can't find us on your favorite podcasting site, feel free to message us, and we'll try to make it happen. But like Sierra said, we're now officially Floridians, which is awesome. We decided, we knew we were always going to come back here, just because this felt like the most like home. But it was so nice to be able to finally find a place, as I think we've talked about in previous episodes, and finally move in, get situated. And it was such a process because we're actually literally sitting today on the futon that was our bed for at least a week or two.
It was 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Oh.
Jeez.
Let's just talk about bad backs for the past first 2 weeks of being here.
Yeah, it's very firm. After probably about a week of sleeping on it, it gets pretty firm, and the metal wiring and stuff like that in the back kind of digs into you a little bit. But overall, I mean, it was, with all things being said, it was pretty seamless, pretty smooth. But one thing that really helped me, my parents definitely came down, and it was really big help just to be able to get everything situated, because literally the day we crossed the Florida border from driving across from Virginia, I had orientation for my job currently at a grocery store near here. And it was kind of crazy because I literally drove the car, spent maybe 30 minutes in the house, and then I went right to the store. And I was so tired. It was just so jet lagged. And then it was constantly working. I had a full shift the next day. And so I was very grateful that my parents came down to help with that.
Yeah. And just with him working, it was, especially tiring, trying to get all the things that we left or at least I left in my car, because I left it in my old apartment, to try to move all that into the house. And along with that, we had no furniture. We had to get the furniture that day as well. So
yeah,
it was a lot of going places and a lot of time, and we were very exhausted.
And speaking of going places, during this time period, it's also been kind of fun because we got here about a week or two before CityWalk opened up. And then, of course, eventually Disney Springs. And so what's been kind of fun lately, what we've been doing is we've been exploring CityWalk, especially a lot more recently, just because it's some place we haven't really been as much, and Disney Springs, and kind of comparing and contrasting kind of the feel and the differences. And we're going to be getting into that a lot today. But one of the things that we've also been talking about is we're exploring the idea of me even just working at Universal, and Sierra working at Disney World. Meaning that we would also want to start including Universal more in our talks and videos and things like that, just because Universal does have a lot of good stuff to offer as well for people who want to work there. And it's been kind of fun figuring that out as well. I also wanted to state here really quick, for those of you who are watching this live stream, one of the things we were trying to improve was a little bit more guest interaction, especially because this is a podcast, so we don't exactly have the ability to be able to jump in and talk to every single one of you the second you guys respond. So Sierra is going to be kind of the voice of us in the chat. So that way we are still able to interact with you guys in a little bit, even if we're not directly calling you out. But we do thank you guys so much for joining in. Just for a little bit. It's so great to talk to you guys. But now we're actually going to be getting into our discussion topic. Today, we're not going to be having any special guests, just because this is a little bit of a spur of the moment kind of live stream. And so what we're going to be doing instead is we're going to just dive right into our discussion topic, which is just going to be me and Sierra talking about this. We're talking about the idea of reopening the theme parks. One of the biggest news that came out recently, a couple days ago, was Disney finally released their dates as to when they will be opening their parks, and how drastically different it is from Universal. And also, we just wanted to talk about what Universal's been doing as well, and what Disney's been doing as well, and kind of comparing and contrasting the different vibes and the different feelings that we were feeling from either side. So first off, let's just list some of the facts. So Universal Studios released not too long ago that they're going to be opening up on June 5th. That means that Universal Studios, the park itself, Universal Studios Islands of Adventure and Volcano Bay, which is their water park, will be opening up on June 5th. The hours for Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure will be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Volcano Bay will be 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, those are very kind of interesting to remember because we're about to start talking about Disney, and it's kind of interesting. But because I think this is also happening because Disney's doing it a month later, that this is why the hours are a little bit different. But Disney, according to what we saw on a Disney World website, Disney will be opening up the boardwalk on June 14th or June 15th alongside with some resorts and things like that. And the boardwalk hours are going to be from 6:30 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's like the biggest stretch we've seen so far. It might be possible that those are the old hours for the boardwalk and that they could be changing those hours. That's just what they currently have on the Disney website. So that's what we currently wanted to give you guys. But the official hours that they have stated for these parks, we're going to read off right here. So they have Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom are both going to be opening up on July 11th. Yes. So a whole month from then. Magic Kingdom's hours are going to be from 9 a.m. To 7 p.m. And Animal Kingdom will be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I also saw that they had extra magic hours, both in the mornings and in the evenings.
I think actually both in Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, they both were before the park opens.
Okay.
It's like maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
The extra magic hours.
And that makes sense that they would probably have it earlier rather than later, just because that is easier for them to kind of control that crowd a little bit more, than vice versa. And then also opening July 11th, something I did not see much in the news. We also saw that Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach are slated to open during that time period. Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach are both set with the opening times of 10 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. Again, that might be old hours. It might be not adjusted hours, kind of like the boardwalk. But as of right now, that's what they were stating for July 11th, which was very shocking as well to read on the Disney Parks blog. And then Epcot and Hollywood Studios, a couple of days later, will be opening up on July 15th, with Hollywood Studios being open from 10 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, very similar to Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. And then Epcot will be open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., which is the latest a park will be open. Like any park will be open. It's kind of crazy to think that Epcot will be the latest park.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me curious now without the fireworks show in the evening at 9 p.m. It's kind of what is there to do in the evening, and we'll definitely discuss more about that, of what our theories of how different things are going to happen with these new phase reopenings of the parks.
Right, and I mean that's one of the more interesting things too that I just kind of realized. It's going to be kind of weird not to end a park day with a fireworks show, because Disney has announced that they're cutting the hours of the parks, like we just said. They're also removing the parades and fireworks shows because those tend to congregate a ton of people into close proximity. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been watching Happily Ever After and people have stepped over my toes or something like that. You can't do that during this time period, just because social distancing is not going to happen for fireworks shows. I think they just realized that, and so that's why they cut it.
Yeah. We actually have some really great questions from the guests that are visiting. Wannabe Mouseketeer says, I'm curious as to why the parks will be closing so early, possibly to do with stopping people re-entering. And
hang on, let's answer that question first.
Sounds good.
So again, the question was, why are the parks closing so early? Yeah, possibly due to stopping people re-entering. I don't think the re-entering isn't as much of an issue. I'm very curious to see how Disney's going to account for that, because there's plenty of people who park hop during the day. But with parks at a certain capacity, because the thing is, so they've opened Shanghai Disneyland. It's been open for a couple weeks now. And Shanghai Disneyland, that's the only one park in the area. Is kind of unique being here because there's so many parks in the area that are going to be open at the same time. what is going to be the deal with park hopping? Are they going to be able to jump from one park to the other? Is capacity accounting for the park hoppers? Or when you buy a park ticket, that is your park you're going to be in for the day. And when you leave, you still have access to the park until it leaves, but you can't jump to another park. I don't know. That one doesn't sound quite as...
I feel like that would be too difficult to really
manage.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no way to really control other than the magic band if it does say like we're not selling park hopper tickets anymore. Which actually, I did find out that for the new opening, they actually put a halt on Walt Disney World tickets, and this was I found on the official Disney World website that they are not purchasing new tickets. So right now it's just annual pass holders, and I'm trying to think what else it was. It was like another seasonal thing,
like DVC or something.
Yeah, DVC or annual pass holders, but they're not trying to focus on new tickets. So I'm wondering then if that's going to have an effect on it, where they're just going to take away park hopper tickets and just focus on one park a day.
That's one really important question. And maybe we can look more into that, maybe get back to you guys in a later episode. Because maybe they have stated something about it and we just don't know about it. But it's definitely a very interesting time period, and we wanted to kind of focus on that for what we have seen so far. This whole phased reopening of the parks and resorts has been very, very intriguing to watch. And so one of the things we have been able to see firsthand, though, is a difference between CityWalk and Disney Springs, which I kind of wanted to talk about just a little bit. So Universal and Disney, one of the things that's been kind of fun for us to do recently is be able to really see the difference between the two companies. We know that Disney is very, very family friendly, very, very friendly in what they're doing. Universal, it's a little bit more like a teenager or young adult or, older adult kind of park. And they kind of market it that way. They treat it as such. When you go to Disney Springs, you have a ton of variety for what you're going to do. It's also like 4 times the size of CityWalk, probably.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's huge. To walk around CityWalk, it feels much easier to do that than walking around Disney Springs, because I feel like CityWalk can probably fit in the area by World of Disney, encapsulating Rainforest Cafe, like that kind of.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like to be able to walk around it. But what was interesting was seeing the difference in how CityWalk was addressing the guests versus how Disney was addressing the guests. On the first day we went to Disney Springs, we went opening day. We didn't want to go opening day. Well, I didn't really want to go opening day because I thought it was just going to be a giant mess, and I thought it was going to be kind of crazy. But it was basically like what really kind of bugged me was how many guests were mistreating the cast members.
Oh boy.
And it shocked me. Like, so you'd have at least everything I saw was like there was like a family of 7. Most of the kids were above the age of like 3. And none of them, the parents included, were wearing masks. They didn't have masks like on them at all. When a cast member came to approach them, like, could you please put on your mask? The dad like faked putting it up, and then the second the cast member like turned it back, just laughed away the cast member, and then they just kept moving on. And I was just like, ooh, that was just, you can't do that to people. And it was just brutal because like, it's beyond a safety issue at that point.
Right. I think also first we should account for how many times we've been to Disney Springs and CityWalk since it reopened. Mm-hmm. So me and Andrew have been to Disney Springs twice, and I've been to CityWalk twice, and Andrew went 3 times to CityWalk.
Yes.
So we both have like different. You probably just have one different scenario. But from my experience, when we started off going to CityWalk, I think it was a couple days after opening. Like, I was very surprised that on that opening day when we were going to Disney Springs, because at CityWalk, I felt like there were people that were respecting the rules, that they had masks on. I mean, they had people that were announcing, like, literally.
I love this.
Like, they were literally second level of CityWalk. You can kind of look down. They have a microphone, and they're just like, "All right, guys, practice your social distancing. Be sure to put on your mask."
It's like having an MC up in the corner when you're walking in, like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to you." And they've been open at this point now. The last time we went back was a couple days ago, and they've been open at this point for like a couple of weeks now. But they're still like treating it like a giant party, and I'm like, I can respect it, and it's so fun. Occasionally, they'll have a drum line above the bridge as you're coming in, and it's just super fun. They have all kinds of performers, and stilt walkers.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's such a fun atmosphere. And one thing that was really cool was I see a lot more people there actually listening. I think part of it is because you have a giant guy on a loudspeaker, calling out people who are entering the park not wearing it, or park CityWalk not entering. But even in the stores, like I noticed, like people are really like trying to emphasize it. I will say on the second time that we went to Disney Springs, I saw a lot more people. We were there for about an hour and a half. The last time we went to Disney Springs, it was probably for about 2 or 3 hours.
Right. One of them was more towards the middle of the day, and the recent one was towards the evening.
Yeah.
Before it closed.
So we didn't see as many issues. And we also saw more cast members in the evening talking to people and working around in the area and being more interactive. So that, I think, helped a lot. I almost wonder, though, what's going to be like when the park's open. Because you're probably going to have kind of like, if some of you guys ever recognize this in Hollywood Studios, they had a guest flow position where they had a cast member station about almost every 50 feet or so, who was there to help out if you were lost or something like that, kind of like one of the cast experience team members, and they were just there to help directions or if they had questions about certain aspects of the park. I wonder if that's going to be probably how it's going to be when they come to managing social distancing, as well as managing the safety mask. I saw in the comments somewhere, someone talked about how like it's going to be probably like how they address smoking in the parks. They're going to have stern warnings about it, making sure you're not doing it. And then if need be, they could get security involved.
So I feel like I'll agree with the stern warnings, but I feel like with this, it might be a little bit more strict, especially with, because they've even said somewhere in the recent Disney article that whatever happens, like you are required to to wear a mask, and Disney has every right to kick you out of the park if you're not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a part of social distancing. It's a part of safety precautions. Mm-hmm. And Disney definitely tries to focus a lot on safety. That's
what they do. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I'm sure that they're going to have plenty of good safety measures in place for these kind of things. And Disney Springs was a good indicator, though, I think, of what is to come. Also about Universal Studios with CityWalk, I think that's also another good indicator of how they're going to treat it in their parks as well. One of the things that's kind of brilliant about Universal Studios, which is kind of like Disneyland over in California, is that once you enter CityWalk, you have access to the parks. So the temperature screening will happen, before you even get to the bag check area. And then once you go through bag check, you're good to go. You can go into the parks, you can enjoy your time here. So they don't have the temperature screenings set up outside of the parks. I wonder if they might set up another one, but that might be redundant at that point if you've already done a temperature screening just to get into CityWalk. And then they might have a temperature screening somewhere outside, transporting things. Also, we should probably tell you guys, there's a giant thunderstorm going on right now. So if you guys hear that, it's been going on for the last hour or so. But yeah, so in short, though, I mean, like, it's going to be interesting to see what Universal does. I want to definitely check it out on June 5th, go back to CityWalk just to see, what it looks like, what the vibes are, how people are enjoying it. At this point, though, one of the biggest things I wish I could tell people is, don't fight the rule system about going to the park. This is just kind of the way things are at this point. It's very difficult. It's very, hard. I was just out here working today. I work in the grocery store, like I said before, and a lot of the times I'm outside loading things in the grocery or in the cars, and it was really humid out. I was sweating. It was coming down my face and it was coming into my mask and it was gross and it's just yucky. And I was just like, this is miserable. And I'm like, I get it. You know, it sucks to wear a mask, especially when it's super hot out here in Florida. I mean, the age-old adage is, though, that's just kind of what it has to be at this point.
Yeah. I honestly think that with all this, it could just even be a better way of planning your day. And maybe they need to start suggesting, for example, if you're going to the parks, because you can take off your mask if you're going to restaurants or if you're eating food. For example, at Disney Springs or CityWalk, you can like briefly take off your mask. So, I mean,
and they even cast members encourage that too. Like if you guys need to, and that was one thing I really liked about Disney that I didn't necessarily see too much at Universal, but they would like, you know, look, if we get it, you know, if you guys need to take off your mask for a little bit, just to breathe, take a breather, feel free to do so. I think
they said that CityWalk at the golf course that we went to.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think what I've also heard recently is that they might be setting up areas within the parks for those kind of areas where you can just breathe and just relax a little bit, not just in the eating areas when you're planning your lunches and stuff like that. But that actually is a really good question I wanted to ask the people who are watching this live stream right now. Would you guys go to the parks when they reopen during this whole time period of wearing face masks and the limited hours and stuff like that? And if not, when would you go to the parks? When would you feel comfortable returning to the parks? Feel free to talk about that amongst yourselves while you guys are here. At this point, I'm just kind of almost wrapping up this little, you know, statement here. There is a definite difference between how CityWalk is addressing things in Disney Springs. I mean, the shows and the atmosphere in CityWalk seemed a lot more professional, progressive.
Yeah. Very much so. Like they definitely took the worst possible situation and made it positive. Like I was very impressed. Like a lot of it was very similar to Disney Springs in regards to temperature check, but just the way that they moved forward with it and spaced things out there, it was very a friendly atmosphere. And I honestly kind of felt like it was a little bit more friendly or positive in CityWalk than I felt at Disney Springs, but it's also a bit, sometimes everyone loves Disney. It can be a bit chaotic.
And maybe that's just something that we can owe to the good team members that work there. Maybe that's something that's just something that they would do. And that, because that was one thing I was really impressed with, was how above and beyond they were when you enter CityWalk. Like they're actively greeting you. They're actively like talking to you. They're actively like, "Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. You know, we're so glad that you're here." And it was so awesome. It was just nice to feel that. With Disney, you know, cast members, you kind of take that for granted almost. Like cast members are always going to try to be nice to you. But you can tell, like, it was really nice to see Universal team members going like above and beyond what they typically would do. Or what they typically do, just to be able to really be kind. So I was really impressed with that, and that I think was a contributing factor as to why I'm interested in looking into working for them.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
All right.
We do have one comment from Brianna. She said, "I would probably wait a few days to go to the parks once things calm down."
I think so too. I definitely don't think at this point that there's a need to rush to be the first person back in the parks. Like, I get it. Like, after having worked there and been in the magic for daily for months, it's almost like you go through with withdrawal like everyone else. And it really did bother us. Like, we were there many times that we would literally break down. We missed it so much. We missed working for Disney. We still do. We still have those moments where it's just like, this is really hard. But at the same time, just kind of getting back out there, it would just be, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be. It's not one of those like you have to go out there. You have to be the first in line. I think that's kind of why Disney is purposely pushing this past July 4th, and why they're actually giving a little bit more time. They're like, look, you know, we want to take this as safe as we can. We want you guys back as soon as we can. I thought for a while that they were going to be opening up in a couple of weeks, so that way they could capitalize on the July 4th crowds, and that way they could bring in people, they could do all those kind of things. But then I was just thinking, it wouldn't make sense. Why rush it? Why risk all these different 4th of July crowds and trying to bring in all these people? When safety is your biggest priority, you want to make sure people are safe, and you want to make sure you're ready for that kind of thing.
And also, I just think that considering all that Disney does during the holidays, or have done during the holidays, they would not be able to have any 4th of July parades, no fireworks shows.
Yeah, it would be about the same.
There would not be much to really celebrate there. So I think it's very smart of them to go past this holiday and to do this in the middle of July.
For sure. And I mean, I think this goes also for Universal. Like there's not a huge rush to jump into Universal. There's not a huge rush to do it. I mean, just the hours themselves, like, you're paying for probably a similar kind of day. They might discount it a little bit, but it's not that long of a day when you think about it. Like typically like a good Disney day, you'd go for about 12 hours, like that's the kind of thing you would devote to a park, right? Mm-hmm. The parks aren't even open for 12 hours. Like, no.
It's literally a full,
like 9-hour shift.
Yeah, 9-hour shift.
Which is, I think, why Disney's also doing that too, just for the workforce as well. Mm-hmm. But like, it's just something that's, kind of interesting. We have a couple more feedback, so I want to read those really quick. So Michelle said, I'll probably wait a while before going just to make sure everything is good there and people are following the rules safely. And I'd probably go a lot sooner if I lived closer. Mm-hmm. That's respectable.
Yeah.
I can get that 100%. It's so tough when your backyard is basically Magic Kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
And Disney property is just there. It's really hard. Like, it's hard not to just do it. Every now and then we'll literally take a drive. I call it my new route. We'll drive from Osceola Parkway, and we'll go all the way up past the castle and then go Floridian Way and then back down and just see everything that we can. And that satisfies me for a little bit. And Disney Springs was a big help too, but it just, there's a different vibe though to Disney Springs. And I think what they're doing with the Stormtroopers that I've been seeing recently in news and stuff like that, we haven't personally seen the Stormtroopers yet, which I'm kind of sad about. But that they're trying to make it a little bit more Disney. They're trying to make it feel a little bit more like home. And I think the more they do that and the more closer it gets to that time period when things become a new normal, that's when I think it'll start feeling a little bit more like home. Rod. Rod left a response. He said, I feel like right now it would not be worth visiting Disney. It would be a really stressful vacation, and that literally goes against what going on vacation stands for.
Totally agree with that statement. I mean, the part that I just really resonated for is like, that is what a vacation stands for, is a time that's relaxing. And I just feel like it definitely would be more stressful to have to go and worry about any restrictions. For a lot of people, that's actually why they're deciding not to go, is because of all the restrictions as well.
Again, it's annoying to see the people that like want to start a fight about it. It's like, it's just the way it is. If you want to enjoy it, they provided a way for you to be able to enjoy this in a very safe manner. Mm-hmm. If you want to wait for the restrictions to be gone, you can wait.
Which actually something I am curious about, based on Shanghai Disneyland opening up, is what kind of rides are gonna not be opened during that time, or if there will be any restrictions of rides.
That is an interesting question. I mean, just looking at like Disney World, I'm trying to think of like the kind of rides that would probably be limited, and I'm trying to think of the close in proximity kind of rides. But the more I'm thinking about it at Disney World, I'm trying to like think about like, I feel like it wouldn't just be limited rides. I feel like it would be limited capacity on rides. Mm. Like for instance, Slinky Dog Dash, or any of the roller coasters will probably have to have some kind of difference, like maybe like one seat differentials or something like that, where like there's a space in between them. And what is that going to do to ride capacities? How often are they going to have to clean the rides? These are questions we don't know. And it's difficult to really kind of look out like that. But, hopefully things will get better. So Brianna also answered what Michelle was kind of talking about too, like how she lives literally down the street from Universal and probably won't be there on June 5th. And you still haven't gone to CityWalk either. I will say one thing. CityWalk is surprisingly really good to be able to walk around. Very easy to get around, and the crowd sizes have never been huge when I've been at CityWalk, no matter what time it is. If it's right at 4 o'clock when CityWalk opens, it's pretty dead. If it's later in the evening, I've been there around like 8 o'clock, and it's still like nice and easy. I mean, I feel like CityWalk is a really good spaced out area. One of my favorite things to do at CityWalk currently is just to go up to the entrances of Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, and just to be able to see into the parks.
Oh, so cool.
I haven't been inside Islands of Adventure in over 20 years. And I haven't been to Universal Studios to my recollection.
And I haven't been to Universal Studios, period.
And so that's definitely one of our big bucket list things to do. All right. Oh, and then Rod had one more feedback here. And so Rod offered like the idea, maybe shows like the Tiki Room and Carousel of Progress would be closed in the beginning. See that I feel like you could do social distancing really well in the Tiki Room now. Just because it's a circular,
kind of like stadium seating.
Yeah.
Right?
Same thing with Indiana Jones or some of those things, or Muppet Vision.
That's true.
I mean, there's certain ways you could incorporate social distancing inside the shows. You could probably even do Phantasmic.
I definitely could see that because it's outdoors and you can space them out. But
to its credit, with Carousel Progress and Tiki Room, those are shows that are indoors, and they are kind of close in proximity. Tiki Room, maybe not so much. When was the last time you did Tiki Room?
The first time I went with you. The only time I went with you.
So you've only seen it once. All right, that's okay. But from what I remember, it is a pretty decently sized room. And so you probably could incorporate it. I mean, honestly, every time I've been in Tiki Room, it's never been a packed show. So
you're not wrong.
But it would be interesting. So we appreciate all the feedback that we received during this whole thing. It was really fun being able to talk with all you guys about this. We're now coming to the Q&A portion of our live cast here. So for those of you who are in the live stream here, we're opening it up to you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to ask us, either about where we're currently, what life's currently like for us, or what our plans are, or why Sierra should have gone to see the Tiki Room way more times than she did. So let's start it off. I saw Wannabe Mouseketeer first. She said, do you prefer visiting CityWalk or Disney Springs at this moment?
I already have my answer to that.
You go first.
Okay. I personally prefer CityWalk right now. And it's just because there isn't really a crowd. Maybe it's just because it's a smaller space and they're very good at the amount of people that come in to CityWalk. But to me, whenever I go there, it just seems very spacious. I feel like I can actually, walk, enjoy my time. And lately, they've also started playing the theme park music too, which that was something really cool to see the other day. Because then you can just walk up to the gates, look inside the park, hear the music, and it just puts you in a good atmosphere. The past couple of times I've been to Disney Springs, I personally have been a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of people there, and especially the balance of people wearing masks and not wearing masks, and just it's just overall crowded right now, even for social distance standards.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. I think CityWalk is better at this moment. It's not that their shops are better. It's not that the food is better. because Disney has amazing selections in both categories. But it's just the overall environment. Like one thing, and I mean, maybe this is just because we also haven't done Universal as much, and we've done Disney a lot, a lot. When we were cast members, we literally, I think all we did was Disney. Whenever we went, we took one trip to Sarasota, Florida, and just for a couple days, and we were like, the second we left past there's a power line, it's in the shape of Mickey Mouse. The second we left like Disney area, we're like, where are we?
We're out of the Disney bubble.
We're free. Like it's just so hard when you're in that environment to leave that environment because you're so used to it. You're just having fun, and it's such a fun place to just hang out and just really just enjoy it. It's just the hard part is you kind of get stuck, and so I think there's a bit of the whole sense of just being kind of sick of it, and where you're just kind of appreciating something new. One thing I've started to appreciate a lot more is Universal Studios, the park. They're what do they call it? It's the entrance loop, the exterior music that plays outside of the entrance to Universal Studios. It's all movie scores, and I'm a huge fan of movies, especially the movies that are in Universal, like Back to the Future and some of those other things, and E.T. And the music scores are just gorgeous, and I love listening to that. And then Islands of Adventure's like exterior queue is like this super like weird, almost like sense of adventure kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but
it's just so exciting because it's like I also love listening to Disney music that's in the background, but it's just hearing other action movies where you feel like you're fully immersed into the movie. It's that feeling.
For sure. So I'm going to go back to an older question that we got from Disney World. We didn't really address it during the whole discussion topic, so I wanted to talk about this. What are your thoughts about the reservation system being implemented by Disney for the parks? So I think maybe we talked a little bit on it, but I really like what Shanghai's been doing with the reservation system. Also, what was kind of cool that I don't think has also been talked about a lot is the virtual queue system for the World of Disney store, which we were able to see a couple nights. Was it last night?
It was last night.
That was last night. And it was just super, super interesting because we got there. A lot of people had waited hours just to be able to get in the virtual queue. And we got there. It was super, super quick, super, super easy. Just gave the phone number and like name, and that was it.
And then they send you a text message with the first initial text just to make sure you got it. And then the second one is when they're ready for you to enter into the store. Which actually I kind of was like caught off guard by it because I wasn't prepared to know that there was a virtual queue for the stores. Yeah. But it was very helpful, and it went by super quick. Like after 15 minutes, we got a text message when they said it was going to be 45. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's nice because it's kind of like just a fast pass, like an old fashioned fast pass. For those of you who've been to the Disney parks a long time ago for Disney World, or if you've been to Disneyland recently, it's like basically getting a fast pass for something, but it's not sold out. It's just something that anyone can grab. And I really appreciate that. And it makes it much easier to wait in the line and to social distance. And so if you're going to do anything, I think the reservation system is really good. And it's very fair overall. Let me just see here. Let's go to the next question. I think it might be Michelle. She's right after.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. So have you heard anything back from Disney or Universal with the job offer? Very excellent question.
Very, very excellent question. Why don't we discuss this?
So for short answer, no. Disney and Universal both haven't posted any job updates since they closed. Nothing has changed.
Nothing regarding theme parks, I should say. They've posted I can't speak for Universal, but Disney's posted other things for anywhere else around the world, but not Florida. Not Florida.
Basically anything in Florida, Universal hasn't posted anything new. They took away some job offers I saw. I think they were looking for like a lead custodial, and I even applied for that. They have an open posting for audition-based things, but they don't have any open auditions at Universal. So absolutely nothing. And at this point too, I'm also very curious how the cultural representatives are going to do in Epcot, because they also got rid of all those guys. Yeah. And so when Epcot reopens, I wonder what it's going to look like. But because they aren't going to be coming in until probably August.
Or if they'll even decide to open World Showcase or just open just Frozen Ever After and what else is there? Three Caballeros.
The shows like the Impressions de France or the Beauty and the Beast sing along.
Yeah, like if they're just gonna have regular cast members, because also something to note as well with the new announcement, they did announce that there will not be like no Bibbidi Boppidi Boutique. That will not be happening for this time. It was also no character meet and greets, so you won't really need character attendance.
Yeah.
And a couple other things, but I have a feeling that the people that were originally those roles will be transferred to other roles in Disney and might make up for the World Showcase.
A lot of my friends who work in Hollywood studios, I'm still in their groups. I'm still able to see some chatter. And they were talking about how a lot of them are being transferred to work at Disney Springs. People who never even worked in merchandise or things like that are getting trained on it just because they don't have the workforce right now. When the Disney College Program participants were all sent home, that took out, I want to say, almost like a tenth of the workforce. It was a huge chunk of just Disney College Program participants. And so with reopening the parks, especially with all these new positions for social distancing, I'm guessing Universal is going to be doing something similar. One can only think that eventually they're going to be hiring again, and probably hiring a lot, as much as they can. I know even Gatorland was looking to hire some actors and stuff like that too. This is how desperate I have been to look at a theme park and work at a theme park. Like I was looking at Gatorland and Legoland. Like I was like, I need to get back in.
I saw the performer list though, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of crocodiles and poisonous snakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of getting coronavirus, I'll just die. Next question. Disney Rod, when do you think the resorts will open? I think they announced that, right?
They did announce it. So for Fort Wilderness, for first DVC resorts and...
I should say he's referring to non-DVC.
Okay.
I might have stolen your thunder.
Dang it. Okay. I'm not sure about non-DVC resorts. I just know that they recently announced opening of some resorts on June 15th and June 22nd. I know for sure for Fort Wilderness, which...
I mean, if the boardwalk is opening up around June 15th-ish, I mean, one can only think that the other resorts will probably be opening up by the end of June. But it would also not make much sense why they would open the resorts until the parks are open. So it's probably a good bet that they'll probably be around the time the parks open in July, maybe mid-July. And that's when they'll probably start opening those resorts. I even wonder if they would allow non-guests to go to the resorts like we used to do. We used to go to the Polynesian all the time.
You know what? I think they might, though, because if their restaurants will be opening up, you can still go to, if you have a reservation, I think they'll just be a little bit more strict about it because they just don't want anyone to go into the resorts. And actually, right before the park closed, me and some other cast members who went to Fort Wilderness, and we had a dining reservation and how many people were on it. And then that's how I was able to go in. So I think you actually have to have a reservation on your phone and show it to the security officer before you go inside. Most
likely, that's probably what's going to happen. And then eventually you'll probably get a temperature screening somewhere in there. Maybe when you enter the building.
Or even at the security part. Well,
maybe.
No, that'd be difficult.
I think, excuse me, let me just reach my arm. I don't know if that would work, but who knows? Emily, Wannabe Mouseketeer said, what will be the first thing you do when you get back to the parks other than go to the Tiki Room? Emily, I'm surprised at you. I'm surprised that you would ask that question. You know the correct answer is to go first to Muppet Vision 3D. Like, that is the best thing to do. Muppet Vision 3D. I can't believe anyone would ask that question.
What I would do is, other than follow him where he wants to go.
Yeah, Muppet Vision 3D. So.
If Space Mountain, actually, I'm not sure if Space Mountain would still be open, but that would be one of the things I would want to do is Space Mountain, because that's with Magic Kingdom. Actually, I'm kind of torn because I even though we always say like we're gonna go to Magic Kingdom first, I would honestly love to go to Animal Kingdom first. just because I don't think there really will be that much of a crowd other than to go to Pandora in the morning. And there's a lot of, you can see all the new animals. Like I think they had a baby lemur or something be born.
And they had like a bunch of different, like, I think they had a zebra also.
Yeah.
So yeah, there would be a lot of cool animal trails. I love the Maharaja Jungle Trek. Big fan of that one. So yeah, that would be fun too. And I definitely think that would definitely be open for sure.
For sure.
So what will be the first Disney restaurant you eat in? I know my answer.
I know mine.
What's theirs?
It's going to be Trails End at Fort Wilderness.
Good choice. I actually haven't eaten there yet, so I would love to try it. But the one place that I have tried that I would return to would be Regal Eagle Smokehouse in Epcot. That would be a lot of fun. I love the food there. That's probably the best barbecue I've had on Disney property. Super good. That or 50's Primetime Cafe in Hollywood Studios, just because I used to work around the corner from there and I would smell their fried chicken literally every single time I worked there. And it smelled amazing. I've heard really good things about it, so I would love to try it. Let's look for any other questions. Again, great to see you all. Thank you guys so much. Let's see here. Yeah, people have asked us if we've been to Universal, like how we've not been to Universal. We've just been saving our money, you know. We were on the DCP budget. We can't exactly really afford, or we didn't want to really invest in that. But now that we've kind of settled in a little bit much, the next step is going to be actually, we have a ton of really cool picture frames and artwork, and we're going to be hanging a lot of that. The only thing we have currently hanging around here is a poster for the original Star Wars movie, which is hanging up in the corner, and I'm guessing we're deeming that the music corner, which is super cool. I'm going to be releasing a video on the channel at some point about like a tour of our new apartment, so that way you guys can kind of see where we're at.
We should go to Michelle towards the end. She has a really good question.
Let's see. Sorry.
Oh boy, now there's a lot more.
There's a lot of questions now. Sorry, guys.
I think it like legit froze.
No, I got it.
Okay, cool.
Do you think it's a mistake?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's a mistake that Disney and Universal is reopening at this point in time?
Ooh.
Very good question.
Very excellent question.
So everyone has their own opinions about the virus. Everyone has their own statement on it. My personal statement is I trust in leaders from our church. I trust in kind of what I've seen in the workplace and what I've kind of understood and what I've personally kind of deduced. I believe at this point, June 5th might be a little early. I think Disney's taking the smart approach. I think July is so much better. I think it's a very smart move. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind, there are so many people's jobs that are at stake here. People who are out of work, people who've been struggling with the unemployment system here in Florida for months. And some of them are just getting paid for it. And it's just really like, you know, it's very hard on those people. And so my argument is I think it might be soon, but I'm glad that they're doing it for those cast members, for those team members, because that's really helping them. It's helping the businesses, sure, for sure, but it's also helping those people get back out to work. And, you know, some might argue, you know, you might be making more money right now on the unemployment system, stuff like that, but there's so much like joy in the ability to work. Like right now, we both don't really like our jobs that we currently have.
Yeah. Maybe that's an understanding. Maybe it's just that we both have our different reasons for
not liking what we're currently, because it's not Disney, it's not Universal, it's not something we find joy in.
I'm not getting out of the house ever.
Yes, but it's the ability to still work, the ability to stay, you know, focused on something productive. And so for them, I can agree that that's a probably good idea.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Totally agree with that. That I think with having roommates from previous semesters who are still Disney cast members and are struggling with the unemployment system right now, I think that is the better option. But I do think that Disney's approach of starting in July or August is a very smart move, because I don't know, I feel like things will get better.
For sure. All right. Aaron from My Disney World Fix said Andy's here. We're going to Universal next week, right? Totally.
We got money.
Yeah, we've just got money to burn right now, man. Use it as toilet paper right now.
Oh boy.
So L Jones sounds kind of familiar. I think it's your mom.
Yes, my mom.
Yeah, she said.
Hi, Mom.
Saying you can speak Norwegian. Sierra, try for that. So I think if you're talking about Epcot,
I want to.
Yeah, the hard part about working in any of the pavilions is that they do require you to be from the country that you are representing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm assuming eventually at some point, if you really wanted to, as like a leader or like a coordinator, you might be able to work in Norway. But if you're wanting to be like one of the representatives or anything like that, or basically have a kind of like a DCP kind of level job in Norway pavilion, you kind of need to be from Norway. Same thing for any other country.
Yeah.
Wanted to just read this little feedback here from Emily. She said, just wanted to say this is the first time I've seen you two together on the live stream. I just love the positive vibe you two give off. You may both be back making magic real soon.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much. Let me see here because I don't think there's any other questions at this time. Let me make sure I'm double checking YouTube.
I think that's about it.
Perfect. So honestly, guys, I really just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning into this whole thing. It's a lot of fun making these little live cast things here. You know, we took a little bit of a break just to kind of get settled, made sure we were on even footing before we got back into this. But we really wanted to thank you guys. As always, if you would like to contact the show, feel free to do so by emailing us at theplaygroundlivecast@gmail.com or by directly messaging me on Instagram, which is at Andys_playground. Big thanks to everyone who participated, especially my lovely wife and co-host Sierra. And until next time, though.
We'll see you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.